Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Young Falcon here, and today we're starting the Persona Marathon. Alright, we're going to be reviewing Persona 1 through 5, including spin-offs, and this is going to take us a long time. You're probably wondering why. Well, I left a poll up on Twitter. If you're not following me, you can follow me at YoungFalcon2246 in the description below, and everyone voted Persona, so I decided, you know what, you gotta deliver. Now, I could just play the main games, which is what I'm going to do first, then I'm going to get to spin-offs, and then after spin-offs, I'm even going to get to the anime movies. So, it's going to be pretty fun. If it is Persona related and it's in like part of the straight up Persona franchise, I will most definitely will give it a look-see. But if it's kind of that weird middle league section, like, I don't know how to explain. There's some games in the middle league section, you know what I'm talking about. I'll probably be skipping those. So with that being said, for this whole Persona marathon thing, this is going to take us a pretty long time because these games are 100-hour plus long depending on the games we're playing, and expect this to last a while. It's gonna be on the channel for a hot minute, but you know what? It's supposed to last me a minute. It's supposed to last me a while, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna take advantage of that and just have some Persona fun. So, with that all being said, let's take a look at the very first Persona game for the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation Portable. I will be reviewing the PlayStation Portable Remaster due to it being portable, allowing me to beat these games quicker. Basically, if it has a portable version, yeah, boy's gonna play it because it's gonna allow me to play through those games quicker rather than just sitting back and twiddling my thumbs. So, with all that being said and out the way, let's see if Persona 1 still holds up. Okay, so Persona 1, originally a game for the PlayStation 1 that released in 1996 titled Revelations Persona 1, which, quick anecdote, this game was rated E for everyone. You literally fight demons and go to hellish landscapes. How is this rated E for everyone? ESRB was really screwed up in the 90s. I can understand why the courts got so offended. But regardless, it was a spin-off of the famous Megami Tensei, or spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei, I should say, franchise over in Japan. Well, Persona 1 was a pretty big deal for JRPGs at the time due to its branching narratives and unique ways to battle enemies, and it was just something fresh that majority of people didn't really experience. So, if it brought such a fresh new feeling in 96, do you think it can retain that in 2009 with the PSP remaster? Well, we're going to take a look-see right now. So, Persona 1 starts with a group of high school students playing a Persona summoning ritual. The game thrusts you into your first choice setting with either Mark or Nate. Mark believes the Personas and thinks they're real, while Nate believes the whole game is childish and boring. I sided with Nate because I don't mess with that demon mess and I'm not trying to get absorbed by one of these Persona creatures. But your characters end up playing the game regardless, and upon completion the screen shakes and everyone passes out. You're later transported to a weird world with the masked man who brings up questions about your name, and of course you answer that. After that he drops some more cryptic facts about Personas and how the world's gonna be upside down, some dumb stuff. Later, you're teleported back to the real world and you wake up in the nurse's office confused, alone, and afraid. Well, the teacher screams at you for doing some weird mess in the classroom and tells you should go meet up with a sickly kid named Maki. So you gather your friends, leave school, and upon leaving, Nate is greeted by his butler. His butler is very happy at the fact Nate made some new friends, but Nate keeps up his cold attitude and demeanor and brushes his butler straight off. Talk about cold. The group heads to Maki's hospital bed, and after talking with her for a short bit, the room starts to shake and things go awry. You pass out again and wake up with Nate and his butler in the hospital room. Nate's butler dies in Nate's arms, and well, it's a sad, sad scene. So as demons are spawning all across the city and of course inside your hospital room, the party has to get together and summon their personas during each fight. The gang goes on an adventure to fix the city, so your party goes around picking up information, and upon learning some new information, it turns out Maki's mother works for an evil organization named SEBEC, or SEBEC for short. This organization has released the demons across town, so it's up to you to travel and take down this evil organization. You make your way through the dungeon, encounter a little girl named Aki, and she sends a boss your way. It's the first boss of the game, and he goes down without a hitch. After defeating the said boss, the big man himself, Takashi Kendori, the man who runs Sebek, wants to rule the world. He activates the Diva Machine and your party is sent to an alternate universe. Now it's up for your party to take down the leader of Sebek and save the town. Persona 1 story-wise is pretty basic and straightforward for the choice I chose. Not many plot twists, it just ends up playing everything safe. I enjoy that aspect of the game, all things considered. I love the alternate world angle, and instead of doing something like time travel, which is extremely risky and convoluted, it makes the game story a bit more intriguing because there's two worlds at stake. So with the story out of the way, how's that gameplay? It's a classic Shin Megami Tensei affair with a small twist here and there. The ability to speak to demons using guns as sub-weapons, and each character comes with their own set of choices when talking to demons to make the game pretty fun. These choices include sarcasm, cringing, and dancing on them? Okay. These choices affects the demon's mood. The moods play a huge role in the typical turn-based combat. Eagerness allows you to either turn a demon into a spell card to earn a little bit of money or an item. Happiness, which does a happy status, which allows demons to miss turns out of pure joy and happiness. Scared, which causes either a monster to run or inflicts fear, once again causing them to miss an attack because they're so scared. And there's anger, which causes a demon to get enraged and attack out of turn at times. These four emotions make turn-based combat enjoyable and add some much needed depth to fight, so it doesn't become a basic turn-based battle affair. There are many personas to collect and add to your team roster. This is done through conversation and then fusing the personas with Igor. It's the boy! Cool to see him in the first game. Glad to see he's just in all of them. That's nice to hear. Anyways, when you fuse personas, you get different abilities, and leveling up personas unlocks more and more abilities. These personas each have their own attributes, and some are fire type personas, which come with fire abilities, and some are meant to inflict physical damage only, and some only do status effects. These systems all work in tangent and allow pretty diverse playstyles for a turn-based game. Do you try to scare away all the personas, set up for spell card collections, kill all the demons and gain XP? It's all up to your playstyle. It's quite unique, and I like what they did here, but there's one fatal drawback to Persona 1. Warning. Here it comes. The high encounter rate. It drags the game to a crawl every step of the way. Every 7 to 8 steps in dungeons is a demon encounter, and not one or two, a group of these cretins. And sometimes these demons love to sneak up on you and inflict broken statuses like charm, causing you to lose everyone in your team and restart. And sometimes your save file is just screwed up, so it doesn't even work because you have to fight the same enemy that has the same charm. RNG beats your party to a pulp and inflicts charm and dances on your party's grave constantly. This causes so much frustration and restarts, which leads to fatigue, which leads to boredom, which leads to a lackluster story, and encountering the same demons over and over and over again, and grinding to reach persona levels just to obtain a spell card, all makes a tedious gameplay loop. Now sure, you could say most JRPGs are tedious and repetitive, which is kind of true to a fault, but what makes a turn-based RPG so frustrating is grinding on top of the high encounter rates. That is solely in the game for padding out the length. Persona 1 falls for the early 90s JRPG trap where they still think, hey, higher random encounters equals replayability because you never know what you're going to get, hurdy-durdy-dur. But in Persona 1's case, you know exactly what you're going to get, and you fight the same demons over and over. It just becomes a non-stop onslaught of repetitive demons and enemies and item drops, and it's just unfun. End of rant. Okay, enough about the gameplay, let's talk about the other parts of the presentation. Persona always gets 3 things right for me personally: story, music, and its interface. Persona 1 misses all but one of these. The story is pretty fun, but sometimes bland and generic, so it's just kind of passable and good. Not bad, not terrible, not even mediocre, just a pretty good story. Its music is really top tier, and I like everything it does, but its interface,
is just lacking. Fumbling through menus to get to fight, where you have to click fight, then go through skills, and then go through items after pressing fight, and then having everything just be in a simplistic menu is very aggravating. They have things like analyze at the forefront of the battle menu, but then if you want to use an item, you have to go through fight, and setting up the auto commands is just a mess, and it just feels like it just feels hasty and put together quickly, and then they shipped it out. Unfortunate, but hey, it gets the job done, and it just kind of pads out the length a little too much for me personally. Everything else about the interface isn't too bad, buying items, equipping items, etc., but that's my main gripe. Other than that, the music in this game is pretty good. The PSP port and the PS1 versions are quite different, where the PSP port brings more upbeat J-pop and rock songs during battles and cutscenes and things of that nature. The PS1 version goes for more of this foreboding, dark, and depressing tone. Thankfully, both end up working very well to the game's favor, especially the PSP version having some nice foreboding pieces to keep the J-pop and J-rock music fresh. The battle themes are very addicting and stay in your head for an extremely long time, and these dungeons have this sense of mystery and dread that keeps you half worried and half curious. Overall, the world music sounds really solid too when you're over on the overworld, and all the dungeon pieces just sound great. Sorry, I did not play through the PS1 version, so I can't really tell you what of my favorite pieces from that game are, and kind of compare and contrast the soundtrack as go into a full Mozart analysis or something crazy of that nature, but you guys get the gist. On that note, I guess I should bring up some version differences. Should you get the PSP port of this game or the PS1 version, if I recommend this game at all? Well, I do recommend the PSP version just because it has much better localization, and easier time playing through, and of course it's portable, which makes it much more enjoyable. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, I'm sorry. Okay, now with that stuff all out the way, let's hurry over to the end of the game and get on to some of my extra gripes. Now, there's one thing to note about the Persona games. They all have multiple endings and pathways and ways to beat your games, and it's just so diverse. Everyone's playthrough is going to be a bit different, but here's my take on the ending I got. The route I got was the Sebek route, so after all the backtracking and fighting with Aki and demons and all the mini bosses I had to come face to face with, it ended up with me having to take on the big bad Kandori himself. When cornered and confronted, the party learns about Kandori's true intentions, that he wanted to become a deity and learn the meaning of life. And, well, pretty cool stuff for a JRPG. I kind of like what they did with the small plot twist there. It went from taking over the world to wanting to discover the meaning of life. A tiny arc we didn't really delve too deep into, but it was pretty interesting. After a short fight with Kandori once again, you see his persona take over his body, and, well, another fight ensues. We fought this guy like 4 different times, please stop. Upon defeating Kandori, he reveals something about Maki, a member within our party. The Maki we've been traveling with is a fake, or an ideal version of Maki that is pure of heart, which explains why she's so numb to being joked on and even bullied. The little girl that kept confronting us was named Mai. We were just pieces of Maki's personality that was set within Mai, and the Maki we have is the ideal version. So the group sets out to gain Maki's true soul back and rescuing her from the Sea of Souls, defeat Pandora, who's a persona heck bent on taking over the world. So they defeat Pandora, save Maki, and everything returns to normal, with the masked persona guy congratulating everyone at the end. Well, okay. That was a pretty fun classic Persona, small little plot twist, a small little extra part of the adventure, and it just overall made it for a nice, gratifying storyline. Yeah, the gameplay is rather boring, and after a while dungeons can get extremely tedious, and even the story can get dull at times until the very last 5 to 10 hours, but you know what? It's not too bad of an adventure. I think it has a pretty cool 90s charm. I like the battle theme. I love the first-person dungeon crawling despite the high encounter rates. But, you know, it's just a pretty mixed bag. I'm a sucker for first-person dungeon crawling, as I've stated, and it's just kind of dull and unfortunate that there's a high encounter rate, and in the couple floors of music seem to just loop and feel like it's never-ending at times. And on top of the janky combat system that's just fumbling through way too many menus just to do a simple attack, it kinda takes way too long to take down demons and enjoy battles or even do conversation just because it gets frustrating very quickly. As nice as the music is, it does become pretty samey and repetitive because they use a lot of the same tracks over and over with barely any variation, and it just all kind of blends and meshes together, making a bland oatmeal title. And I'm not talking apples and cinnamon oatmeal or strawberries and cream, just regular good old grains. It's something that's going to fill your stomach, but it's not something that's going to fill your heart. that's my Persona 1 analogy.
So with that being said, thank you for checking out my Persona 1 review. I'm glad you guys stuck around this long. If you want to see more, go ahead and drop a like and maybe drop a comment down below. And if you want to see what I'm doing on the interwebs, you can hit me up on twitter.com and follow YoungFalcon2246. You know, we be doing a little something over there. On top of that, I have a Discord server if you guys just want to talk games, anime, movies, music, all that typical good stuff. Just be a little geek and geek out, and you can join that too. You can also join me for live streams whenever that will be. Right now, my computer's being a little bit of a jerk, so he doesn't really like live streaming at the moment. But once I get everything all fixed up, we're going to be back on track. Thank you all so much for checking out this video. I'm Young Falcon signing out, and I'll see you guys next time.